So a little bit about what you're seeing up here. That is my shared connection map, and I'll talk more about that toward later on in my presentation. But all those dots represent people, and the lines represent a genetic connection between them. But first, I'd like to start off by sharing a little bit of like how I got started in doing all this research into my ancestry and family history and stuff. And I actually found this binder on my dad's bookshelf like 10 years ago. And it was just like a family history of his mom's side or his mom's parents. And like just seeing the stuff that was already there, it kind of inspired me to go find out more and find out not only about like my dad's parents, but my mom's side of the family as well. Can you do next slide? So if you want to get started with learning about your own family history, the place where you should start is record what you already know, like just the names of your parents and your grandparents. Gather any documents you already have. Like if you know there's a family history that someone's already made, grab that and look through it. And then ask your family for help. Just especially if you have grandparents that are still alive, ask them, who are your parents, who are your grandparents, and that's a great place to start right there. Then next slide. So then if you want to keep going to get to like your great grandparents and stuff like that, you need to follow a process of first like deciding what you want to learn about next. Like maybe pick your father's side of the family and go down that path. Kind of explore what kind of documents you might be able to find, do some research, try to find more. Maybe it's census records. That's always a good place to look. Maybe do like birth records and things like that. And then organize the documents that you have for that side of your family and then start the process over again with someone else. So that's kind of what I did to get at least what you see up there. And once you start getting deeper and deeper, you start to question maybe the validity of some of the documents you find. Like maybe someone has the same name, but you're not sure if it's your ancestor. And so you want to kind of back that up with some research. And that's kind of like, next slide, how I, what made me want to do a genetic test. So actually someone gave it to me as a gift, but it was really interesting because I bought the test. They're on sale right now. If you want to get one, they're just $60. And it can kind of help confirm, like, if you've already got some theories of who some of your ancestors might be, if you're not sure. If someone else has taken a test, you can find that match. It'll also show you, like, your ethnicity. So you get, like, a overview of, maybe you're 45% English and, whatever. And this history could be different than your the percentage of your ancestors that are from that place. It's kind of what gets passed down to you. So it gets kind of randomized a bit, but more or less, that kind of describes or backs up my research of who my ancestors were. Yeah, leave that. And then you also get to see on Ancestry, if you take a DNA test, something called through lines. And what through lines will show you is like, if you have a tree on Ancestry and someone else has a tree, it can like match you up based on the fact that you've got DNA in common, and say this is how you're related, and actually show you. And you can click on one of your ancestors and see how many people are related to that ancestor. And like right there, Joel Johnson, I had 52 matches to him, so that's kind of like one of the higher ones. But that was a 5th great grandfather, and so it showed me connections through I forget what great uncle, his children, and all that. So go on to the next slide. Yeah, so you kind of see I'm descended from Joel's son Noel, but there's also Bithynia and Urias and Ari, and I have genetic connections to all of those other siblings of Noel. Next slide. And you can actually expand those and see, even if you don't have in your tree, maybe I have a relative named Teresa Hansen. Well, it shows me that she put in her tree that her parent is Danny Barker and grandparent Stella Martin, and it'll show you like how you're related. And that's good if they have a tree, but a lot of times people don't have a tree. Like they'll take the DNA test and they won't put their tree up there, and so they won't show up on through lines. But you can get to them through matches, which I think I have that on the next slide. Yeah, so you can see matches. I got my mom to do one, so she shows up as my first match. And the way they're doing the test, they measure something called centimorgans, which is like a genetic distance. And so I guess if you have a parent that's over 3,000 centimorgans and then a grandparent is like 1,500, and it kind of reduces from there. Or actually, that's my grandfather, Ed Previck, who's 2,000 centimorgans away from me. And then his sister is 1,000 centimorgans away from me. So the farther distant related you are, the less centimorgans you have in common. And it goes down, you can see results of matches all the way down to 7, maybe even 6 centimorgans as that being like a potential match. But that usually, like I found a lot of people that are only 7 centimorgans away, and I can find the relationship to them like through documents. And you can click on any one of those people in that list and see who you have in common. Like if I go down, so Peggy Thokar's got a grandson, Ian. So like go to the next slide. So I can click on Ian and I can see him and see that he's also related to my mom and related to my grandfather. But what I don't see is him related to like my dad's side of the family, which is really useful to see like maybe if there's someone that you're matching to, but you don't know which side of the family they match on, you can click and see shared connections and get that idea for that, even if they don't have a tree. Now, Ian, like I met him at a family reunion a long time ago. He's a 6th-degree black belt, and that's how I got this scar. No, actually, we were playing a game, a very dangerous game. It was croquet. And I hit the mallet into one of the bars, and he's like, "Oh, that's cool. You made it pop out of the ground. Let me try." And he just wails on it, and it came up and hit me right in the head. So I know how I'm related to Ian, but I don't know how I'm related to some of these other matches. That's kind of why I wanted to do some research into like how can I visualize these matches. And so I started looking into visualization tools. And there are a few different options. Like I could do like an arc diagram or a chord diagram. And I turned to Drew, who used to sit next to me, and I was like, "Drew, what do you think I should do for this? Like, do you have any suggestions of tools I could use?" And he, oh, we lost it. Oh, there it is. Well, he suggested I use a tool called Gephi or Gephi. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. And it's open source, I think, and it's free. I know that. You can just download it and start using it. And the problem was like I didn't know how to get my data into it because like I can see my see my shared connections on the screen, but I was like, well, how do I format that into a form that this tool could use to actually visualize it? So I think I started by opening up the developer tools when I was on Ancestry's site, and I got this screen, and I just organized the list of calls on the network tab to see like what calls were the biggest, that returned the most data, and the one that came to the top was this call to get matches. It says matches v2, and I clicked on that to see what data came back, and sure enough, it showed me pretty much what I'm seeing on the screen, people's names and how far, how many centimorgans we share in common, all that information. And I did the same thing when I went to shared connections and saw that list. So then I was like, all right, how can I make these calls and make them for each person so that I can get all the shared connections for each person? So I just, again, stayed in Chrome's developer tools. I went over to the console and just wrote a little bit of code to, loop through each person and fetch the data and save the data into an object. And I did that, for like 400 people, and took all those and formatted it into whatever the Gephi tool needed, and exported it. So I don't know if you've ever used snippets inside of Chrome developer tools, but you can, load up you can kind of prototype a script if you're working on it. It works a little bit better than just doing it on the terminal. But you can also have common snippets you use like for other things. Like I found one that lets you save to a file. So you just say console.save and pass it your data and the file name you want, and it'll create the file for you. So I did that, and I made this file here, which was just the GUIDs of each person's test, and just listed them all out. So these are what they refer to as edges, like basically the connection between two people. And I also got the whole list of all the people, so I could match each edge to the person, so that then when I plugged it into Gephi, I could see their names if I wanted to by like hovering over them and things like that. So let's see what's next. Yeah, so this is Gephi. This is the data import wizard. You can click like import spreadsheet, and then it shows up in here. And you do that for, these are the edges. There's a nodes tab on the left. You click on nodes, you can import your nodes, and it handles pretty much everything else. And then you just click back onto overview at the top. And if you do next slide, you get something like this. And so it's all the dots were on top of each other. So in this interface on the left, at the bottom, you have layout. You can choose how you want those to be displayed and hit run. And the reason you have to hit run is because it goes through looping through, like moving them a little bit at a time, depending on which algorithm you choose. And so what I wanted to see was force atlas, and that will make nodes that are more connected to each other clump together, and nodes that are less related to each other go away from each other. And so I had no idea if this would work, but I just loaded the data in and hit run, and this is what I saw. We hit play. At first I thought, oh, they're just kind of, moving out. Like, I'm not sure if this will work. And then it's like, whoa, there's actually some definition here. Like, I can see groups moving away from each other. And I noticed, like, one group going to the bottom left starts heading away from everything else quicker. And then there's the bottom right, which is clumping together more, and there's a lot more connections there. And so I went and I looked at, what each of those dots, which person each of those dots represented. And next slide. I was able to put names on them. So like going to the bottom left there is the Previck family. And going up to the top right, I see Irwins and Johnsons all on my dad's side. But then I could say like, okay, well, that makes sense because Previck, they immigrated from Croatia and Slovenia, which is like, they're not at all related to anyone else, but like everyone that's in the big clump is from the South and has been in America for hundreds of years, and they're all more closely related to each other. And then I had like the Cox family going out to the right, which they were from Ireland, and so that it made sense that they kind of like clumped up together. So this was like really helpful to me, and I was able to find some groups that like previously I didn't know how I was related to these people, but once I saw them all clumped together, it kind of made me realize that, oh, these people are related, and maybe they're related on the same side of my family. And then I would kind of get to a point where I could discover maybe how we're related. So this was kind of like a one-off kind of thing because I was doing it in Chrome Developer Tools, but I wanted to share this because I was so excited with these results. So there's a genetic genealogy thing on Facebook, and I went and did a post at Play, and I had like over 300 comments. It was like a lot of people really seemed to like this. Um, and some people were saying, oh, there's tools out there that can do the same thing. And I got a lot of people just saying, wow, that's really cool. And some people saying, oh, I want to be able to do it myself. And I'm thinking like, well, most people don't know how to open up Chrome developer tools and paste in code and run it. And it just seemed like a lot of steps to tell someone how to do. So I got to thinking like maybe this would be better as a like Chrome extension. So that's what I've kind of been working on lately, is trying to make a Chrome extension. And I started off just making like a package manifest. Oh, I almost forgot. I did create a mailing list. So like I showed people like what I had done, and so if they want to see more, once I do get a chance to work on it, they could get notified of it. So if anyone here wants to get emails about that after this, yeah, I'll give you the link to that. So, oh yeah, I made a project on GitHub so that I could put my code out there once it's done, and then made a manifest for the Chrome extension to just get started, and got like an icon showing up, like test it out. How do you make a Chrome extension like that? It's all new to me. And then I started playing around with like, how do I keep this clean? I decided to go with TypeScript because it's easier to keep track of, what your models are in your code and play around with them and get IntelliSense and things like that. And I added some other libraries, like I added Webpack to my project. So I don't know if you can really see any of these screenshots, but one library I used was called IDB for IndexedDB, and there's several options of saving data in your browser. But what I wanted to do was, keep all your data in the browser as part of this Chrome tool, so that I'm not saving anyone's genetic information off-site because of all the privacy concerns with that. Like, I don't even want to bother with it. Like, just let people keep it on their own machine, and they can do with it whatever they want. But this tool kind of will help them export it from Ancestry because there's no export button. And I've just been working on that. Let's see, go back one. When I want to build this, I just run npx webpack. I have to tell it I'm using TypeScript. Like, I have to give it a loader for TypeScript. And let's see. Oh, I say put library, and I'm able to get my export statements from the main, from the starting point into a place where I can use it from the console. And so where I'm at right now is just, as I'm working on this, I'll write some methods, and then I'll test them out. I'll test them out in Chrome developer tools. So like here, I'm using one of the exported functions, and just seeing that it hit Ancestry and it got the data. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. I haven't finished it yet, but it's kind of in progress. And yeah, that's what I've been working on.
You gonna sell?
No, I was making this open source. Yeah. Oh, he asked if I'm going to sell it. So I think there are some tools out there that'll do some of this if you buy them, and I don't want to like try to compete in that. I just want to make it, help people out with their family trees and use it for my own. So like, I've done it with my family tree, but I haven't done it with my mom's yet. And I've gotten some other people to share their trees with me. I was doing research into one side of the family where like we're trying to find our shared relationship, but we still don't know like who the exact person is, but we know we're related, and we've got all these other shared connections, but no one's gone back far enough to find who the person in common is. So I think if I'm able to graph my tree and their tree and see like kind of some of that overlap, it's going to help. So.
Any other questions?
This is just for Ancestry. You can do tests in other places, but yeah. Am I related to anyone famous? I'm not sure about anyone famous yet.
He is famous. He doesn't need to be related to someone
Yeah.
famous.
The tool does allow you to do like a time series and to save out, like when I run it, it just goes and I don't care about how it was at any point in time, but I think you can set it up so that if you want to replay it, replay the progression, you can do that. But yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So the tool, the Gephi tool allows you to say each dot is a different color based on some other field, and you can and you can do that with the edges too. I think you can make the lines different color and the text, like you can change the label color and stuff and make it based on data, like each person. Yeah. Yep.
Are you related to anyone else at Pratt Miller?
So my 10th great grandfather was a Pratt, Joseph Pratt, and that was like in 1600 or whatever. But that's the I don't know that I'm related to anyone else, but I haven't. No. Yeah, I don't know if I'm within 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but I assume I am. Yeah, thanks.